the 2nd of June 2026, a reading from, or Tuesday morning, a reading from the Common Buddhist Text, Guidance and Insight from the Buddha, chief compilation of this Dr. Mahadhamma Kosachan. We are reading on chapter 8 on meditation from the perspective of the Mahayana tradition. As we left off on practicing the 5 spiritual practices, this passage from the influential meditation guide written by the founder of this Chinese Tian Tai school, it concerns the proper preparation for meditation or concentration and the attainment of the first 5 meditative absorption. Even if the preceding 20 practices are performed fully, one will not experience calm if one is not happy. If one does not yearn for it, if one does not conscientiously discipline one's body and mind, if one does not mindfully or be mindful of one's perceptions, if one does not apply skill and means, and if one does not establish one's mind in a one-pointed concentration, one will be able to make progress if one is able to enjoy one's practices with no resistance. If one is able to practice tirelessly day and night, if one is able to maintain constant mindfulness, if one is able to properly understand the goal, and if one keeps one's mind established in one-pointed concentration without wavering, one-pointed concentration is like the rudder of the ship. Astute wisdom is like the bow, and the other 3 are like the oars. If one of these things is missing, the ship would not be able to function. It is also like the bird which looks with its eyes, steers with its tail, and propels itself forward with its wings. Without these 5 practices, it would be difficult to meditate or concentrate, let alone to attain concentration absorption. This can be cited from the Great Calm and Insight, Moho Xinguan, chapter 6, section on the 25 preliminary ways and means for observation of the mind, Ta So, volume 46, text 1911. This is translated from Chinese. The practice of deep calm, or samatha. This passage describes a deep phase of the practice of samatha, calm meditative concentration, or the stopping or the quelling cessation after initially stilling the mind and developing preliminary insight. It concerns attunement to the deep nature of the mind. Someone who wishes to practice samatha, calm, tranquil concentration, to dwell in a quiet place, having fixed his body in the lotus posture and straightened the body, they should establish the mind in the proper way, not focusing on the air of the breath, nor the empty space, nor on the earth, water, fire, or wind, nor on what one's seen, heard, perceived, or known. All speculative thought and concepts should be removed. Even the thought of removing is to be removed. Mental phenomena neither appear nor disappear, as they are or have no characteristics. His mind, which has previously depended on the objective fields, should be removed from objective field. Subsequently, his thought, which is dependent on the mind, should be removed from the mind. If the mind chases after external objects, it must become absorbed in the internal mind. If the mind becomes aroused, then he should not grasp at the characteristics of the mind. And one is not attached to the reality, there's nothing to grasp. If he always practices in this way without interruption, whether he is walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, then he will be able to gradually enter into concentration, absorption of reality, and rid himself of all mental defilements. In this way, the mind of faith is developed. And before long, he will reach the stage of irreversibility. If his mind remains obscured by doubt, uncertainty, harsh thoughts, and the lack of faith, bound by karmic obstructions, arrogance, and laziness, he will not be able to enter in this concentration, meditation, absorption of reality. This is the Treaty of the Awakening of Faith in the Greater Vehicle. Tasso, Volume 32, Text 1667. Insight, concentration. The practice of clear observation. This practice describes insight, concentration, or clear observation, which focuses on the nature of the world and the painful nature of conditioned existence under the sway of spiritual ignorance. If one only practices calm meditation, the mind may sink down and become lazy. One may start to feel an aversion to doing good deeds, and great compassion will be far away. Because of this, one should practice insight at the same time as tranquility, concentration. How should this be done? One should attain insight into the world, analyzing, seeing that all phenomena appear and disappear, analyzing without interruption. Because of this, they are all impermanent. They are all painful. And because they are painful, analyzing, they lack an essential self. One should regard what has happened in the past as being like a dream. What is happening in the present as being like the flash of a lightning, and what is happening in the future as being the cloud which emerges suddenly. One should regard the body and everything associated as was being impure, replete with worms and tiny creatures mixed with filth and defilements. One should see that the foolish falsely conceive the existence in non-existence, analyze. One should see that all phenomenon arise on basis of condition, that everything is ultimately unsubstantial. One should see that the ultimate truth is beyond the scope of mind. It is beyond comparison, indescribable. One should think about living beings and see that throughout beginningless time, they have all been under the influence of ignorance and have suffered from immeasurable distress of mind and body. Analyzed, one should see that this is the case to the present and will be into the future. Samsara vata is immeasurable, endless, difficult to escape, and difficult to cross over. They are stuck there, unable to see things clearly. What great empathy one should have for them. This is cited from the treatise on the awakening of faith in the Greater Vehicle. Tasso, Volume 32, Text 1667. Concentration on the three gateways to liberation. This Passage focuses on three deep insights: that all phenomena are empty of any inherent nature, inherent existence, their emptiness. A lack of defining characteristics marks and are not something that should be wished for. Suputi, the essence of the greater vehicle of a person on the path on perfection of their paramis, is the three kinds of concentration. What are these three kinds of concentration? When the person on the path to the perfection of their parami cultivates the perfection of wisdom based on the approach of non-attachment, he firstly attains insight into the essential nature of all phenomena and sees that everything is empty. His mind becomes firmly established in this insight. This is called the gateway to liberation through emptiness, or concentration of emptiness. Secondly, he attains insight into the essential nature of all phenomena and sees that everything is empty and therefore has no characteristics. His mind becomes firmly established in this insight. This is called the gateway to liberation through the freedom from characteristics, or concentration of freedom from characteristics. Thirdly, he attains insight into the essential nature of all phenomena and sees that all is empty. Therefore, he has no aspirations. His mind becomes firmly established in this insight. This is called the gateway to liberation through freedom from aspirations, or concentration of freedom from aspiration. This verse is cited in the Mahaprana Paramitra Sutra, Taso, Volume 5, Text 220. I'm going to leave off there today, and we'll pick up on the next one, on Chapter 8, from the perspective of the Mahayana tradition, the greater vehicle, seated meditation, and clear insight into the true spiritual aspect of reality. A reading from the common Buddhist text, Guidance and Insight from the Buddha. Chief editor of this compilation, Dr. Mahadhamma Kosacha.